now as well.
Right, I'm here. I'm the artist taxi driver. I'm here with Janette, who's from Barnet Housing Action Group, who's also working with West Hendon, who's fighting evictions. Are they shutting the estate down?
Where they're knocking the whole estate down, 680 council houses, and replacing it with 2,000 luxury apartments. But at the same time as they're doing that, the people that they're throwing out from there have to live there while they're building these apartments, and so they're living in the middle of a building site. Can you imagine? They've started off with a 32-storey block that they're building. You can imagine the foundations needed when you're building something like that, and that the residents have to live in the middle of that, as well as being under the threat of eviction and not knowing where they're going to be going.
And here with the incredible Jasmine for E15 Mums, Focus E15.
Hello.
How's it going, Jasmine?
Very good. There's a lot of things happening. Very tiring, but it's amazing. There's a movement definitely happening. We're all getting together, we're working together.
And we're here in Sweets Way. We're outside a couple of, they've opened up a couple, they've got inside and opened up a couple of buildings. Everywhere around me is shut down, the big metal grills over. What do you think of Sweets Way?
It's an amazing community. We've seen the community. It's beautiful. It's such an amazing place. But it's disgusting that they're all boarded up. These homes are sound. There's nothing wrong with them.
The first day that we came here, we put out an event on Facebook because we heard just randomly what was happening. Nobody knew anything about it. And the residents have just been amazing, and the fact that then E15 have come over from East London, Focus E15 Mums, and joined in with us over here in North London, you know, and there is a real movement rising now.
It's a proper legacy, isn't it, Jasmine? A real, like, you know, what's starting to happen now it feels like there's going to be some kind of legacy. Like this is just the beginning.
Yeah,
like, what does it say on your banner? You know,
this is the beginning of the end of the housing crisis, and it really is. You can feel it. You can feel things happening, and it's going to happen. We're going to win this.
You know, I've been interviewing a couple of kids from in there. I don't know, like, so I've turned up here, and they're just putting forward these kids. Oh my God, how articulate! You know, how incredible. You know, I got really emotional with them because it seemed like it seems, Jesus Christ,
it's heartbreaking.
They're sending fucking bailiffs round to their house, dragging them out of their house.
We've got teenagers wet in the bed because they're so distressed from, you know, that have been evicted on this estate, being put in emergency accommodation, temporary accommodation. We've got one family that's been put in accommodation. They've been there a month and they've had no hot water. We have another family, you know, that
poor. I was speaking to the brother and sister, and their dad's.
That's them.
Their dad's in fucking hospital.
Yeah.
He's been put into hospital. He's been in there for a month with depression, with distress.
Yeah, in the mental hospital. Yeah, and they've had no hot water. The first night they got there, they couldn't even lock the door.
And what do they want to do? What's the story here, Jasmine?
They want to knock it all down. There's nothing wrong with these homes. It's disgusting what they're doing. It's criminal. It really is criminal.
Pristine condition. They're beautiful.
They're better homes than what any of us are in now, and they're being dragged out of them and being put into places that are absolute rubbish.
And the whole estate, the design of the whole estate is whoever the architect was. It's an amazing design because there's so much green space as well, isn't it?
Everyone's got a garden and greenery,
and none of the front doors face onto the main road. The way it's designed is just really, really.
And they want to knock it all down to do what?
Build luxury apartments.
300 luxury
build it up
apartments.
higher.
That's that is just
11% of them will be affordable, which isn't really affordable anyway.
80% of market rate, £2,400 a month,
and the rest will be even more.
£2,400 a month.
Market rate is up to £2,400.
Because you know when it's the first time I've been down here, I drove up that Free at Barnet Way or whatever it is. Massive fucking houses, like Tudor, mock Tudors, a big golf course. They don't want these people here, do they?
No. And working class people apparently don't deserve to have a bit of green land.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere. Fred John Towers on Wanstead Flats, because they've got a field there, because there's a bit of greenery. It's not good enough.
And the leader of Barnet Council is actually the councillor for this ward. And we took all the residents around there, you know, in the first week after they'd been evicted, when we had the protest outside Barnet House, to his surgery on a Saturday morning. And we spoke with him as a group, because, you know, not one-to-one. I said, we'll do this as a group. And he hasn't even got back to them since 3 weeks ago. spoke to them. I've not even got back to
But
them.
this Barnet Council is the first ever privatised council, isn't it? What's that?
And do you know what they're doing now? They've got a consultation out at the moment where they want to raise council rents. This is unprecedented anywhere in London, to 80% of market value, or to the London housing allowance, whichever is lowest, which in effect will cancel out on paper council housing altogether, because you have to be earning below a minimum amount to be entitled to get a council house, but then you have to be earning over a certain amount to be able to afford 80% of market rents or the London housing allowance, which so that small gap will mean on paper it will look like there's no need for council housing, and then that is their ultimate goal.
But they don't want because they're like down in Merton. I mean, there's lots of housing associations, but they don't want council because they know that, like, I don't know, like they've got to pay. What the fucking hell are people paying for? Where is people in the supermarket going to live? Where are the nurses going to live? Where are the people that clean the streets are going to live? They don't. Where are they going to live?
Yeah, they'd be outpriced from Barnet. The key workers won't be able to afford to live in Barnet.
They want us to commute in and work for them.
And they've
commute
actually,
from where? From some fucking ghetto, or
and
like
they've actually said they want people who are paying full council tax but not using the services. Those are the kind of people that they want living in Barnet.
Yeah, we've got to protect Barnet because Barnet is where this is happening. Like, it's happening everywhere, but if they're doing that in Barnet, we've got to protect it, because once it happens in Barnet and they do that to the council homes, it's going to happen to every other
Barnet, like a pilot borough. Everybody for the Tories,
are they Tories,
everybody in London. It's Margaret Thatcher's borough. She was MP here for like 20 odd years. It's Tory heartland, right? And I met a councillor from Wales when I was on a protest the other day, and I said to him, every council in London is watching Barnet to see what happens because all the services have been privatised.
Who did they privatise it to?
Capita. Yeah, and
so the whole of the council is privatised to Capita.
We call them Crapita.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? So all the services,
and this councillor, he said to me, it's not just all of London that are watching Barnet. He said the whole of the country are watching to see what happens if this all works out well in Barnet, and then it's going to start spreading. They'll spread it everywhere.
Well, we know as well from like your borough, Newham, is Labour run, isn't it?
Completely Labour run borough. Every single one of them is Labour. They're all the same. They're all exactly the same. They're not in it for the people. They're in it for the profit. We need to just change the whole system completely. No one will represent you but yourself. You can't rely on any of these people these days. You can't. Or whatever, actually.
I mean, you're doing amazing things, and I think I said to you before, you know, the way that you're starting to build like a massive kind of like you know, community, but it needs to spread. It needs to be around England. You know, this needs to spread out. This needs to be something that's going to build for everyone, because housing is a fucking right.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? That little girl sitting in there saying, like, I have to travel now an hour and a half to get to fucking school. That's outrageous, isn't it? Because she's been taken away from her friends.
And the thing is, if you haven't got a house, a home, you can't do anything else in life. You can't go to work. You can't have a family. You can't do anything if you haven't got a safe, secure home to live in. I think this is what's happened in this country. People are not thinking of houses as homes anymore. They think, you know, they're thinking of them as investments. Well, we think of them as home. You know, it's not an investment, it's where you live, it's your home. Yeah,
housing should be so good. Council housing should be so good. There should be no such thing as private housing.
No, council housing should be the best housing.
And the only housing.
Yeah.
But see, this is the whole coup, though, isn't it? Because they want, because the banks are recapitalising, the banks are fucked up, they're recapitalising, and the main thing is through, like, you know, mortgages. They want people to have mortgages. So this phrase, affordable homes, like you say, is 80% of the market rate. They want key workers. You can't afford it, pay half. You know, you get a little flat where the pub used to be on the corner of the fucking high street in the middle of the traffic. You pay £100,000. You get £100,000 mortgage, the rest you're paying rent. That's a fucking con, isn't it?
And the thing is that it's coming out of people's taxes, because all these people, these rents are so high. Even, you know, working people, key workers, 40% of people that work in job centres have to have their wages topped up with housing benefit. So you've got, actually, the taxpayers are paying these private landlords all these thousands of pounds that they're earning, because no one can afford these ridiculous rents.
Well, there's people like collecting outside the food bank down where I live in Sainsbury's, and I said to the girl who was collecting the food. I said, do you realise there's people working in here that you're collecting the food for? You know, the people that are working in Sainsbury's. The whole fucking country's a mess. But the inequality is just so mad.
It's getting
that,
so
like,
stark.
yeah, but it's like shutting down a whole estate so that you can build. This isn't an isolated thing, though, is it?
In a borough where they had 18,000 on the waiting list in 2013, and how they dealt with that was abolishing the list. And they've built 3 council houses in the last 22 years. And then they invited Boris Johnson up to celebrate that fact. We had a protest outside about that last year in April, to celebrate building 3 council houses when you had 18,000 people on the abolished list and who knows how many now. And they're not even really council houses, because now Barnet don't do secure tenancies for new tenants anymore. You can only have a 5-year flexi tenancy, because according to Barnet, you might be in the position where you need council housing financially, but then after living there for 5 years, you will have sorted yourself out, brought your children up, and you can leave and then release that council house for another family.
Shocking.
So what, are we kicking our children out when they're 5 now then, or when they're 10, or when they're 15? Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous in your life?
Yeah, well, with Newham Council, it's an absolute joke. The waiting list is 14 years. So you're on the list for 14 years. Once your child's 14, you might be on a property for 2 years, and then your kids are moving out. So, like, it's an absolute joke. It's a joke. Kids are not secure in housing anymore. Oh, and everybody deserves to have a place where they grow up and live. We can't. We've got to.
What have we got to do?
We've got to fight together.
We've got to fight
together. Yeah, definitely.
No, we've got to fight together. We have to fight together.
Yeah, we've come together and
demand housing. Demand housing, don't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, we're going to demand that this estate is not knocked down. It's
not going to be knocked down.
We'll
do everything to.
It's only 45 years old for a start. It's absolutely in a borough where there's a desperate
look,
housing
there's the
need.
pigs now. Look, they've arrived.
Brilliant.
The police have turned up. That's because there's loads of people milling about, isn't it? So they're gonna they're gonna.
Oh, we're not worried about them. Don't worry.
Yeah, they've stopped.
They wrote a notice on the back of the door: "Do not talk to the police."
Yeah, that was the kids. They learn fast here. They really do.
Do not open the door to the police. Do not talk to the police. But that's so bad. I felt a real pain in my heart when they were telling me about the bailiffs and how scared they were.
I mean, the thing is, like, children are understanding from such a young age, and it shouldn't be something that they worry about as children. Like, we had somebody from another estate where their nursery is being demolished, and they were doing storyboards with children about Goldilocks and the 3 bears occupying the house and then being evicted by the bears.
And that's just up the road, and there's 400 properties now. We're working with them now as well. On a Friday night, we've been meeting with them. 400 properties going to be knocked down there. And then, you know, I went to a meeting in Graham Park the other night where there's going to be 2,000 soon knocked down. And I met a pregnant lady there who's 8 months pregnant, who's just been evicted from this estate, who was then at a meeting at Graham Park last Monday to talk about the evictions that are going to start happening there. I mean, and she's got 2 children as well as being 8 months pregnant. Yeah. It's absolutely horrendous.